Hi everyone, Mia Paulus here with the Simplicity in Business and Life podcast. Today we're going to talk about the secret sauce to mastering business. And I'm going to talk about 3 ingredients that I believe is the key to mastering business. And so I'm not going to tell you what those are, so you have to listen. So with that said, let's go and play the music and then we'll get right in.
No, it doesn't have to be so hard. No, it doesn't have to be so hard. Business and life made simple.
Okay, so before I tell you what the 3 things are, I want to kind of give you some examples. So, if you are just looking, just get out in the world right now and what's going on, and if you just pay attention to businesses that are out there and businesses that are flourishing during this time and businesses that are struggling, you'll notice some key differences between those that are making it right now and actually even thriving and flourishing and saying that they're having a better year than they've ever had, and those that are closing their doors and struggling. So I think it's important as you get out in the world, if you're a business owner, to really pay attention to those things and what makes those differences. And I'll just give you a couple local examples. I'm in Boise, Idaho, that I found, and I love to just look at operations and processes and just seeing how people run their businesses. I get really excited about it. So an example for me was Cafe Zupas. So that's one of my favorite places to go and eat. And if you know any Cafe Zupas, at least the one in Boise, don't have any drive-throughs. So you have to go in. It's a dine-in experience. So with COVID, that could have made their operations go under. And they actually were able to roll out an app really quickly. And I don't know if it was just perfect timing because they were already building it and they were able to roll it out with COVID, but their app is awesome. And I don't know, like I've seen some restaurant apps and some that aren't so great. And Cafe Zupas is awesome. You can actually put your order in, you can put the time you want it in, and you can even say like right away. And so like I could do it from my house, which is like 5 minutes from a Cafe Zupas, and then say I want it to be brought out to my car. The you can either go in and pick it up or you can have it brought out to your car. And because I don't have a drive through, they actually have little slots in the parking lot for you to just drive in. And then when you get there, when you drive in, you go back to your app and you click I'm here. And then like a minute later they come out with your food and it's awesome, right? Well, the cool thing with apps is you think about just retail in general, they don't have access to a lot of your information to help give you promotions and things to bring you back. Now I know a lot of like clothing places, they did a lot of rewards programs, and I know a lot of food places are getting involved in that now. But like with an app, it makes it really front and center. And like this morning, it was actually an email that I got, and I said, I get a free dessert if I go to Cafe Zupas. And I don't get desserts very often at Cafe Zupas, but if you've ever had them, you know they're awesome. So when you see an email and you're like, a free dessert if I get a meal with them, like that might get me back today. And so, all of that just creates innovation and creates movement, and it's also great marketing to get people in. And then there's and I don't know how Trader Joe's is doing, but I've brought this example up before where Trader Joe's was like, we're not doing any delivery, any car pickup, any of that. We believe in the dining experience, or the experience of when they walk through the store. And I thought they're going to struggle with that because customers are wanting this. I mean, Walmart is booming with their food. I mean, I hate Walmart, and they got my business because they deliver to my door, my groceries, and it saves me so much time. And so, you have to be willing to adapt to what people are wanting, because I'm willing to go to a store that I don't really like because it helps save me time. And so you have to be mindful of those things. And like, if that's really the important core mission of Trader Joe's, they could create that experience through an app. They could create that through an online experience for the customer. So it doesn't have to be, just because this is the way you always did it, your what and your how of your company, like that has to be willing to change. And so that leads me to my 3 ingredients for mastering business. And it is simplicity, innovation, and marketing. And it's interesting because I was going through some old notes, and I realized a long time ago I had created this formula to success in business, and it was simplicity plus innovation plus marketing equals success or mastery of business. And it was interesting. I was at a conference this last spring, and I was listening to Tony Robbins speak, and he said he had gotten this from Peter Drucker, and he said there's only two things in business, two main elements, and it's innovation and marketing. That's all that matters. And I thought that's so cool because I didn't get those three things from Tony Robbins, but he said the same thing. And so it just reinforced what I had always thought. Now, I like to add simplicity in there because I know if I'm constantly innovating in marketing, you could still have very lack of focus if you don't have that simplicity element tied in. And I think focus is so critical. And so and being agile is so critical. And I think of those as elements of simplicity. And so that's why I bring in that third ingredient, which is simplicity. So simplicity, innovation, and marketing. And if you talk to most business owners, they're probably going to talk about finances. They're going to talk about like operations, sales, legal. I mean, even people, like if I go and have a great team, but I don't have any sales or innovation and all that, and that focus in the company, you're going to lose employees because you don't have those ingredients. So even just focusing on employees won't matter if you don't have these three ingredients. So I'm just such a strong believer in if you put these ingredients first, the rest kind of falls into place. And I've seen a lot of businesses and a lot of startups fall prey to this, where they spend so much time focusing on process and workflows and systems and they want it all planned out perfectly before they even start. And the crazy thing is that one, they might go under by that time because they haven't brought in revenue. And the other thing is that I find that the actual process of doing creates the process, and it does it so much faster. In fact, just this morning we were trying to get like this exhaustive list of services that my company does, of like all these things that companies and people can outsource, and like at a granular level. So like, checking their email or checking their voicemail or like whatever it is. There's tons of different services. And but I literally found like 10 documents of different times we've tried to battle this, of like getting a long exhaustive list. And I kind of chuckled because like now that we're like in this fast growth mode, it's like everything's so much easier, because when there's like that momentum and that just the adrenaline and the energy that you feel within things, like things get done so much faster. And so all the time and the hours and the weeks we spent trying to build this, we're probably going to be able to crank this out in a matter of days, a couple days, and we're done. And so it's just things don't take as long when there's that momentum created. And I really believe that momentum is when you have all three of these ingredients, which I'll go into more detail on these here in a minute. So one of the things that I talk about all the time, because it's part of our vision statement at the center, that the company that I founded, is the human experience. For me, I'm always trying to simplify business to improve the human experience. So that could be customers, it could be the business owner, it could be employees, it could be strategic partners, it could be the families of those business owners, it could be the communities of those businesses. Like, I care about people. I care about the human experience. So everything I do is always around that HX, or that human experience factor. And when I think about simplicity, innovation, and marketing, I look at simplicity and innovation is really that HX model that I talked about, the human experience model. It really is finding ways to better serve people and simplify that human experience. And then marketing allows you to get that message out to the world more. And a kind of a cool example is if simplicity is around being agile, right? So simplicity is around being agile. Let's say marketing or innovation is the next one. Say innovation is about being smart on how to run your business. And then marketing is about being present with your customers and getting your message out there. So be agile, be smart, be present with those that you serve, right? And then I want to bring this back to an analogy around candles and a flame. So if you think about simplicity, when you have that focus and the ability to be agile, like you're lighting that spark, you're keeping that spark alive. So if it's your purpose, your values, and your vision, you're keeping that spark alive through simplicity. And then when you have innovation, what you're now doing is taking that spark and lighting a candle so that you can keep that. It's much more efficient, right? You're able to, if it's a candle burning, you're not having to try to keep that spark always lit, and eventually it's going to run out and it dies. So if you can light a candle, it's going to help serve more people, because that candle is now lighting more, and it's lighting other people's lives. And then marketing, I look at it as taking that candle and lighting a bunch of more candles. And so now you're spreading your message and lighting so many more people's lives. And really that's what marketing is. It's getting that message out, and you're there to serve others and to make other people's lives better. And that's the way I really look at innovation is how to best serve your customers and how to best serve your employees and how to best serve your strategic partners. I think Tony Robbins actually defines it how to best serve your customers, but I always like to add in employees and the strategic partners as well, because again, I'm all about the human experience, and I'm also about moderation and balance. And I think that the way that you stay in moderation and balance within a company is by serving all of them in balance. If your employees are happy, they're going to serve your customers better. If your customers are happy, your employees are happy because they're getting feedback and they're like, hey, I really like the service I'm getting. So it just makes everything work and go around, where I think there's a lot of people that will just say, oh, it's all about the customer. And I think that kind of teeters things off balance. So I always like to just have that human experience where you're serving everybody. Everybody matters. We're all people. We all matter just the same. All right. So I'm going off course here. I'm kind of going in doses of explaining simplicity, innovation, and marketing. So let me just now start kind of back at the top. And the first thing I want to talk about is the foundational elements of business. And this isn't really tied to the 3 ingredients, but I spent the first quarter this year writing a book about purposeful focus in business. And I did a lot of research around like vision statements and mission statements and value statements and all of these things. And I really realized that I don't think companies should have mission statements, and I'll explain why here in a minute, but that you should really create the foundational elements of purpose, values, and vision. And those are foundational, lasting statements that shouldn't really change much or at all over time. And so those help you simplify your business, because when you have all of those elements, then it's easier to springboard off of. Just like a branding guide for marketing simplifies business because everybody knows how to design things and what's your vision and all that you can springboard off of. It's kind of the same thing. So you need to have those foundational elements to really simplify. So I just want to bring that in as part of an element of simplicity. It's really, and then once you have that foundational element, it'll allow you to create action and momentum, which is what the 3 ingredients really accomplish. And so let's talk about simplicity for a minute. As you know, this podcast is titled Simplicity in Business and Life. So I obviously love the word simplicity. A long time ago, I created a plaque that said simplify on it. And it just always struck me as something that I needed to make a part of my life, because I was always the first one to overcomplicate something. And I still do, which is why my team is so great, because they take my crazy brain and my crazy vision and able to simplify my message for me. And so, but I think we can all agree that we don't want more complexity in life. We want more simplicity. And, but it's interesting because I think actually a few podcasts ago, I did one on minimalism and why I wasn't really a proponent of minimalism, but I was a proponent of simplicity. And minimalism is interesting because it really, if you think about it, it breeds mediocrity. You're always trying to do less. What's the least that we can do? Where with simplicity, it's really how you can get the greatest result with the least amount of effort. And I think like there's a Einstein quote that, let me see if I have it here. And he talked about how it's not about doing things as simple. It's doing things as simple as possible, not simpler. So that was by Einstein. He said that. And I thought that made me think about it, because you're right. Because I think about my business. I have a very complex business model. We do a lot of things, but it was the only way that we could solve the problems of entrepreneurship. And so, but there's simpler ways to do our model. But again, if I wanted to make my business the simplest it could be, I would just do one service. I wouldn't offer all these services for it. So what I have to do is take my entire model and say, how can I make this as simple as possible for what I am doing with everything that I'm doing? So I think that's important to do. So that's the first thing I want to talk about is is just go a little deeper into simplicity. And for those that have listened to my podcasts a little while here, you know that I have a team sourcing company where we do a lot of outsourcing for other companies. And the way I kind of pitch this, our model sometimes is the 80% that is the same in every business is the services and the tasks that we can do for companies. And so the things that are over and over and over again, marketing, sales, service and support, employee engagement, like you'd be surprised at how much of those tasks are just the same thing over and over again. And so I always talk to companies about focusing on their core competencies. That 20% that is the same, that makes your company unique, is the things that you should be focusing on. And that is really how you can simplify your business. And when you really put your effort into that, think about the amount of momentum and the amount of how much further faster you can get in your business when you put that focus in there or in your company. So I think when you do that, you'll get a competitive edge. It'll allow you to be agile and adjust. It'll recession proof your business, which like I began this podcast with, I think it's so critical to be in that mindset. You can serve your customers at a higher level, and you'll know what the world is wanting and needing. And the whole goal of this podcast is to be able to get you to look up. If you're so focused on the day to day and you're not willing to let go of your business, and I understand letting go is hard. Believe me, it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in business. And I have an outsourcing company, so I can empathize with you. I understand it's hard to let go, but when you do, and you start to get the level of freedom where you're like, oh, I can now grow my company. I can now see where I need to go. I can see the pathway forward. And that's really how you can really simplify. So I know I spend a lot of time on simplicity, and I think it's because there's so many elements of it, but it's so critical to get yourself to focus and to think of the one thing, like what can move the needle the most in your business, and focus on that. And I'll wrap this back around to why I'm not a believer in mission statements. It's because mission statements are focused on the what and how to do the what in your company. Meaning, let's say, a good example is the cab versus the Uber industry. If Uber doesn't own any vehicles, right? Like if they were focused only on, like for instance, I was trying to think of how to explain this, but Uber, if they had a mission statement that talked about cars, well, what if cars change? What if we're all of a sudden doing flying vehicles, or what if the means of transportation changes? Like how we do things could change. And so I think that's probably a terrible example. I was trying to think of a better example on the fly here, but focusing on the what and the how, like you have to be willing to adapt and change. Like with Trader Joe's, like they might need to adapt how people go get groceries with them. Because it's in their mission statement, they're now think that they can't change that. But you have to be willing to change what you do and how you do the what. Now, why you do something and how you complete your why might not change, which is why the purpose and vision statement I talked about are foundational and critical, because those are big, bold, audacious things that you probably won't ever achieve in life or in your business, and that's okay. Okay, so that's why with mission statements, I call it a strategic mission plan instead. Don't have a really long 5-year plan, 10-year plan, everything lined out, because I can guarantee you the next week, all of that will change. I've seen so many people spend so much time creating these plans that then change, and then they're not willing to be agile and adapt because of it. So I always think, find the one thing that's going to move the needle the most in your business and put focus on that. We're trying to do too many things and trying to be multitaskers and all these things, and it's just, obviously we know we can't be multitaskers. It's not possible. So all right, I could go on that forever, but I think that's such a important, critical one, is to simplify your life, your business, all of those elements. All right, so the second ingredient is innovation. And again, this is about being smart. And a lot of times people think innovation is better technology. And the way I look at technology is there to serve people. If it's not there to benefit the human experience, then I love technology, but it's there to benefit people. So when people try to force technology into people, like that doesn't work. Technology is created to better serve people. So I think that's an important distinction to understand. And then the other thing that with innovation that's interesting is a lot of times people say, oh, it's an overused word. um, people say things that this is innovating when it's not really innovation. And so they're arguing over like this definition and the word. And it's like, let's just talk about what we're trying to achieve with innovation. And again, I love Tony Robbins' definition of innovation is really how to best serve your customers. And I'm going to expand that definition to include, again, employees and strategic partners. When you're focused on serving them at the highest level and always looking to serve them and make their lives better, you're going to innovate. You're going to find ways, products that are going to solve problems for them, simplify their life, take away some pain points, like whatever, like then they'll buy from you. And then that's how you have successful business. So when you're less focused on yourself and your internal team and just like trying to get it all perfect with your process, start focusing on people and how to serve them. And then everything else falls into place. And I think we get away from that in business. I don't know why I keep quoting Tony Robbins today, but he always says business is a spiritual game, and I fully believe that. We have to start looking at the emotional side of business. So innovation to me is not an overused word. It's really best serving all of those elements. And you guys have probably heard this Henry Ford quote, but if you ask people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So when I think of innovation, it's about using your mind and your heart we have so much amazing ability to get impressions and inspiration and revelation, like whatever you want to call that. Like our minds are we're going to get things revealed to us that we can do. And so it might not, like cars weren't around and they had horses, right? And so we have to be able to think outside what the world is doing and not just try. If you focus so much on your competition and be like, oh, I got to do better than them, then you're always going to try to be like them. I rarely focus on my competition, and it's allowed me to create the model that I have. We don't have a lot of people that do everything that we do, but like I think we're all serving people in the way we know how. And I've never felt like I can't be friends with my competitors in that way. Like my background's in the accounting world, and I feel like there's always this like tension between CPAs. Like they hate competition. They hate the other CPAs in the market. And I thought, like, why? There's plenty of business for all of us. Like, we can learn from each other and grow from each other. And so I think that when you're focused on innovation and not so much on your competition, that again, things kind of smooth out. All right, so the third ingredient is marketing. And like I said, my background's in accounting and finance, but my love has turned to marketing. I love marketing. I love just the innovation and the creativity and the strategic mindset that it requires and the pivoting that always needs to adapt. Like I get tired of the same thing over and over again. Like that's why I'll like reorganize my house or repaint a wall all the time in my house because I just get tired of the same. And so I feel like marketing, like you can't be the same or else like, you can't keep ads out there for too long because people get tired of it. If you have the same images forever, like people get tired of it. Like we want new, fresh things, which is why you constantly have to refresh your website. If you have an app, you constantly have to refresh your app user interface. Like there's just so much that always just needs refreshing because we get tired. Our brains get programmed to see the same things over and over again. So marketing is really about getting your message out to the world. And business, like marketing in and of itself is so much more complicated than it used to be. You have to be on all these different platforms, but there's simpler ways to do it and to repurpose your content and to get that message out. A while ago, I read a book and it's called They Ask You Answer. And it really opened my eyes up to really in marketing, it's really all about just answering all the questions that your customers have ever had. Like anytime you do a sales call, anytime you see a question on a social post, anytime you get an email question, like anything, start documenting all of those and start creating material and FAQs and videos around those questions. Because the more that you can put online to answer those questions for customers, the more they can create their own journey. People care about that customer journey and they want to create their own journey. So you need to put it all out there and you need to be doing all those things. I'm not saying all that to overwhelm you, but there's outsourcing partners that you can use to help with that. Shouldn't be doing it all yourself. There's way too much in business to do if you're still doing everything yourself. There's just no way you can be successful if you're doing it all yourself. I can guarantee that. Again, because you need to be focused on innovation, simplicity, and even marketing. Where you do come in, one thing this book said is that every company is a media company anymore. So that's why, like, even if you're not doing all the marketing in-house, like, you still need to be writing rough copy or creating videos that can get edited. Because the more you can create that copy, the more that you can answer those questions for your customers. So that's where I feel like marketing really fits in. And the more you put out there, the more that you'll get heard, and you'll start to build that community and that momentum. One of my favorite quotes about marketing, and it's just from an anonymous source, I don't know who it came from, is this. I'll read it. It says, "Your marketing function drives success in your business, and the purpose of every other function in your business, admin, operations, accounting, etc., is to support the marketing function." And we see this a lot because we have a lot of different, like, we have marketing, sales, and service and support departments, and we realize that service and support needs to know what marketing's doing, and marketing needs to know what service and support is doing. But when service and support is answering phones or talking to customers, like, they need to be relaying that information to marketing and be involved in that, because again, it's about answering those questions your customers have. So marketing is really about being present with those customers and answering and being there for them. And so those are why I'm obviously could talk for hours on all three of those, but simplicity, innovation, and marketing are the three ingredients to mastering your business. And if you can just focus on that, process starts to get honed. Operations, accounting, all that stuff, like, now, like, oh, we need to know how we're doing. Oh, you'll actually want to see dashboards and KPIs and metrics when you actually have volume going through your company. You can spend all day trying to get the metrics and the dashboards and all the things you want to start tracking together. But honestly, start bringing the business, and then it's fun to start tracking it. So it solves so many problems when you can just create that channel of growth and success, and you're able to bless lives more at a greater scale. So in later podcasts, I'll go even deeper on some of these. I'm actually working on writing a book around these three concepts for mastering business, and let me know what you think. I hope you guys like that. If you're interested in, again, a team sourcing solution to outsource services so you can simplify your business, innovate more, and market more, then you can go to thecenter.com/team sourcing. The Center is spelled THECENTR.com/team sourcing. So, all right, that's all I have for you guys today. I will see you on Thursday. All right, thanks. Bye.
No, it doesn't have to be so hard. No, it doesn't have to be so hard. Business and life made simple.